It is actually Sunday morning. I have managed to get out of bed this morning, I have managed to get dressed, and I have managed to get my coffee. So, welcome to the Sunday morning rant. So, last week I did an update on the sound library. I actually have some more updates to do on the sound library, but I'll probably wait till next week before I do those. But the first batch of discs has actually left the country. And I actually mean that. They've left the country. So I had an international order and they've gone internationally. Look at that. For somebody else who shares my passion for the T1 wanted a large lump of the library, so I have sent it to them. So it is, the thing is doing what it says on the side of the tin. But this week I'm going to talk about a couple of things. First of all, I'm going to talk about some gigs I've been to see. And then the second thing I'm going to show you is a number of parcels that have been delivered recently that have sort of kind of been stacking up. And I should probably, I'll just let you know what they are. So, here we go. The first gig I went to see was a wee Scottish lass named Marie, as she was when she was born. She did a little song called Shout. I don't know whether you remember Shout. It goes, way you make me wanna. Okay, but you probably better know her as Lulu. And I saw this advertised way back at the front of the year, that she was going to start doing these tours, and it's more, rather than just singing, it's sort of it's like an evening with Lulu rather than a concert with Lulu, if that makes more sense, because very much in between the various segments of the show, she's recounting memories about how she was doing things and what she was doing in her life and her career, and how she moved from sort of one era of songs to the next era of songs. So she starts off with Shout, and then she goes through the era of songs where she was hanging out with the Beatles, and she was in the film To Sir with Love, I think it was called, with Sidney Poitier, through her marriage to Maurice Gibb, through the sort of 70s where she was more acting, and 70s and 80s where she was more acting than singing, because she was bringing up a family, and then to sort of where she sort of relaunched her career and started sort of writing her own material rather than relying on writers to write her material for her. If she comes to a theatre near you, and she's been doing the sort of smaller venues, so if she comes to a theatre near you or a venue near you, go see her because you'll thoroughly enjoy the evening. And for those of you who don't know who Lulu was, so if you're my age, you probably remember Shout just about. But if you were slightly younger than me, then you probably will remember Relight My Fire with Take That, because she was the female singer on that particular track. And she's just been out on tour, actually, funny enough, last year with Take That. So, you know, there's still a very big bond there. But the show as a show is a fantastic evening. It's a great evening's entertainment. Thoroughly enjoyed it, and I thought, I mean, even the piece of footage that she has in the show of her singing a duet with Maurice Gibb. Now, this is years after they've got divorced and gone their separate ways, and he was married to the wife he was married to when he died, and obviously she was married to her husband at the time. But you could see the chemistry between the two, and you could see how the feelings were still between Lulu and Maurice Gibb at that point in time. When she rang him up, she was doing a show for LWT, as it was at the time, and she rang him up and said, would he come across and do some duets with her, or do a duet with her, thinking he probably would say no, and lo and behold, he was on the next plane across the Atlantic to do this duet with her. It's one of my real regrets that I never saw the Bee Gees live. Real regret I never saw the Bee Gees live, because I would have loved to have seen the Bee Gees live. I know people who've seen the Bee Gees live and they said they were fantastic, but it is one of my regrets that I never saw the full lineup of the Bee Gees. But that's a different story. So Lulu, thumbs up. Now the second artist I went to see recently in the last couple of weeks is an artist that probably many people will not know, and he's had quite a good career actually, but you just don't know of him, not because he's not been pumping records out, because he has been pumping records out. They just obviously don't make the top 40 because he's not a pop artist. But this artist had a massive hit in the 80s. I think it must have been early 80s. Doing the theme tune to a film starring Dudley Moore. So many of you have probably cottoned on what the film is. He did Arthur's theme to the film Arthur, which was a massive hit. I mean, I thoroughly enjoyed Dudley Moore's portrayal of Arthur. And the song, once in your life you'll find this, somebody turns you on and on, is utterly timeless. And I really personally relate to that song in many, many ways, because I do believe once in your life you find her, and I did many years ago and stupidly let her go. But that is a completely different story. But he also did Ride Like the Wind and Sailing, which were two sort of fairly decent hits before we all started going down a different sort of genre for the pop parade. Anyway, I've never ever seen this guy on tour in this country. I don't mean he hasn't toured in this country, but I've never seen him on tour in this country. Anyway, again, many months ago, all of a sudden, I saw on one of the bulletin boards that I subscribed to that he was on tour. So I thought, well, I'll go and see him. So booked up to see Christopher Cross. And the guy walks onto stage, so his musicians walk onto stage, and it is much set up as a musician's concert, if you like. And I say that, and I mean it in a way that these guys were there to play. There was no pretentiousness about them. They just got up and played. In fact, actually, most of his band is French. Would you believe it? So most of his band or currently reside in Paris, France. Him being an American, of course, and he's got a West Coast guy who plays the wind instruments and synthesizers as well. But most of his band are actually French, or reside in Paris at the moment, should I say? That's probably more correct. And he went through all the songs. He went through some of his new stuff and some of his old stuff, and the whole thing was incredibly well put together. And this guy was incredibly humble. That's the only way I can describe the way he came across, as I'm here to play music, I'm going to play you my music, and I hope you enjoy it. And it was really that sort of humbleness, and I thoroughly enjoyed the evening with him. Shame the sound was a bit off, but hey ho, you can live with that. But some of the stories he was recounting while he was obviously swapping guitars and what have you. And that's the other thing about him. He gets on stage and he's surrounded by about 20 guitars, and he sits there and picks different guitars up. So obviously different tunings for different songs. But but it's the way he is so humble about playing the music for the crowd that were in the auditorium, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So there you go, two fantastic gigs I've been to. Not headline gigs, but fantastic music gigs. So again, he's in the UK at the moment. I suspect he's wandering around Europe as well on tour. So if you see Christopher Cross at your local venue, and he again is doing small venues, so theatres and small concert venues, but if you see him on, go and see him, because you'll thoroughly enjoy the evening of music with him. So that is the gig report. Dun, 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 dun. We're done on that. Now, several things have arrived recently, and this one hasn't even been out of the packaging, so you will bear with me while I cut the bubble wrap off. And now I have been threatening to do a P3 video, a Korg P3 video, for quite some time now, and purely because my time has not really been my own recently. I'm travelling a hell of a lot at the moment for work. I haven't really got round to doing a lot of videos that I've got stacked up for. So I've got, I sort of have a list, which I can't show you, but I have a list of videos that I want to make. So every time I have an idea, I write it on my list, and then I work up a script of what it is I'm trying to do, and then I shoot the video. Yes, these things look ad hoc, but there is actually normally a script behind them. Actually, to be honest, there's not a script today, because this is really just being done straight off the cuff, but normally there is a script that's written, just to make sure I actually say all the key points I want to get across. But these came up for the P3, and I already owned that one, which is the PCO1, which is the rock set for the P3. And then up came recently the number 2 and the number 4 of this set. I think there were only ever 4 of these ever made. I'm not 100% sure. Details on the P3 have always been very lacking. Even if you put in the American name of it, which was the Symphony, still the details are very, very lacking. So the P3 was known, for those of you who don't know, as the P3 in certain regions and the Symphony in other regions. Why, I don't know. As far as I can tell from reading some of the literature, and I haven't really done a really in-depth read of the literature, it is the same unit, it's just called something different. So 2 new cards arrived for those, so I shall be trying them out shortly. Put them down there. I'm going to have a slug of my coffee because I've got a dry throat. And then, as many of you know, I bought a Yamaha CX5M computer, just purely for the sheer hell of it. And the way the Yamaha computer works is you need to go and buy voicing programs for it, which you can either load in by tape or you can buy on cartridge. So this one is the YM03. Now, you will forgive me because I'm trying to remember. One of these is an editor for the FBO1, and one of these is the sequencer, and I can't remember which way round it is. So the YRM03 arrived and has been basically sitting in a box until I opened it. So I opened it this morning, so that's the YM03. So there's something to be done on that. And then the other thing that has arrived is the YMR02, which is why I'm saying I can't remember which way around it is. One of them is an editor and one of them is a sequencer. I think that's the sequencer and that's the editor. I think I did look it up and then completely gone out of my brain. And then some other stuff arrived recently, which is sort of background literature and also other things relating to other videos I've got in mind. So I'd like to collect this sort of stuff, which is the original manufacturer's brochures, because quite often, and I'll turn this around and put it up like that, and it'll appear up there somewhere anyway. But quite often, they highlight a lot of the features and functions that are not in the general literature, or people haven't put online because they just didn't think it was important. But when you actually come to start looking at these things, you realise just how powerful these pieces of equipment were. So this is the Triton music workstation, and again, this is something I've always wanted the Triton. I'm probably never going to buy one because I think I've got too many Korg workstations anyway. I've got this one, I've got the one that's sitting behind me, I've got the Kronos, I've got the M1, I've got an M1R, and then there was this one, which was actually the catalogue range, and this is circa early 90s, if I remember quite rightly. And if you look at the back of this, and again, it'll appear up here, there is the original Oasis PCI card. So that was the card that effectively led to this thing coming into being. and it was the midway between the sort of demo machine that never worked and what we now know as the Oasis, which is the machine behind me. But it was a very, very powerful idea, incredibly powerful synthesizer that you plugged into your computer. It's a shame, actually, at the time that the computers weren't powerful enough, really, to power this thing. It really needed, with all the stuff that was going on with a Windows machine, it kind of needed a Windows machine. Or a Linux machine to be present, so it needed to really run on something that sort of got rid of all the overhead, because the overhead is really sort of kind of what killed it. But it's always really nice to sort of read through this, and again, these will appear up here. So things like the SCSI interface and the expansion boards that are available, what you could buy, how you plug them in, the Triton rack. Which a friend of mine actually has a Triton rack, and I have to be honest, I've always been really envious of the Triton rack, and some more details on the Triton System 2. So that arrived. They go into the library. Always good for always good research material. These things are, when you're trying to sort of find out is there, can it do something? Is something available? And then we come down to this little wad of things, no, we don't. I'm going to do this one first. So another one, a different one arrived, and this was another one of those. Somebody rang me up and said, "Do I want it?" Or somebody's dropped me a line on the channel and said, "Do I want it?" And of course I do. This was the MKS70, the actual brochure for the MKS70, which was the Super JX, which again was really, really quite interesting. All complete with the programmer, and also the other MKS series modules that were around at the time. So this has got the 50, the 100, the 80, the 20, together with the PG300 programmer for the 50, and the MPG 80 Super Jupiter programmer for the 80. So this is dated January 97. January 87. Shows you how long ago these things came into the market, doesn't it? And they're still going strong. My MKS20 is fantastic. And then we come on to some service manuals. I was sort of debating whether to show you this one, but yes, I do have an RD1000. It's not here, it's in storage, but I have an RD1000, needs some work doing to it. So there will be a series of videos on the RD1000 at some point in the future. But at the moment that is down in storage. But I managed to get hold of the complete service manual, including. So this is the reason why I like the Roland service manuals, because you get the complete schematics for the boards and stuff like that, so you can actually work out what is going on. And that won't be appearing up there because I haven't got something big enough to scan it. But you can, if you're clever enough, and I have done it once, actually rebuild the board from these. So that arrived, and then I've been searching for a M1R service manual for many years, and lo and behold, there's the M1R service manual that has appeared now, together with all the specifications of the M1R. These things, back in the day, you could only get these if you were authorised service house for Roland, Korg, Yamaha, whoever. But now, of course, a lot of these instruments are no longer being serviced, so they're coming up on the internet, and they are invaluable sources of information to try and work out what the hell's going on with your instrument. The aforementioned P3 Symphony, there you go, which again has all the details about the symphony and how it's all put together. Fantastic. And again, another one I was debating whether to show you or not, but there is the 01 RW, which was meant to be the next version of the M1, of course, but they managed to make a bit of a cock up with it. But that's got all the circuitry diagrams, etc. in it. Very, very useful material if you are going to own legacy equipment. And on that note, it's time to say goodbye. Till next time. Bye-bye. Remember, hit that like button if you like what you saw. Subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon to be notified about more rants, more mailbag, more questions and answers, and more videos about this sort of stuff when it's loaded to the channel. Until next time, bye-bye.